This morning on the huddle, I have a question for you. Are you a person who's struggling to get guests on your live stream show? Well, if the answer is yes, I have 5 tips this morning I want to share with you on helping you to get great guests on your live stream show. And we're starting right now. Welcome. Start over. Take 2. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the huddle. I'm your host, Walter Strong. And if you're new here and you want to broaden your reach, your impact, and income through online video, then we want to welcome you to the show. This morning, as we said, we're going to be talking about 5 tips, 5 best practices that I want to share with you on helping you to be able to get great guests for your live stream show. Because when you look up on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn live stream is becoming something that has become more common and more popular in the online content creation. YouTube has now moved forward from just doing uploaded videos to now people doing live streams for entertainment purposes, doing live stream shows for educational purposes, doing live stream shows for how-to purposes. So when you talk about live stream, there's so many dynamics on how you can approach this. But when you want to get into live streaming where you're bringing on guests on your show, then that takes it to another dynamic that I believe that we need to be able to do it in such a way with excellence that it truly adds value to our viewers. It truly adds value to our audience. It truly adds value even to the guest and their audience that we bring in. And so we want to get into this morning and share these best tips and practices. But before we do this, hey, if you're watching me on YouTube this morning, do me a favor in the chat. Let me know where you're watching me from. Let me know where you're watching me from, what city you're repping. And if you're Team Live, let me know with a hashtag in the chat, Team Live. And if you're Team Replay, let us know your hashtag Team Replay in the comment section, and we're going to just get started and break down these tips and strategies on how you can have great guests for your live stream show. So I've put together a presentation here, so give me 1 second. As you're cutting in the chat, as I'm pulling up this presentation, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from, what city, what you are repping, what city you're repping. As this presentation comes up, because we really need to encourage one another when we're doing live stream shows. There's some great live stream shows out there. As this presentation is coming up, oh, here we go. One of my many favorites is my man, Mr. JP High Tech from JP High Tech Reviews, Content Creation University. He brings on great guests, and then there's also my man Steve Worthy from Podcasters Live, who brings on great guests. And so there's many different live stream shows, but you say, well, Walter, what's the secret? What's the secret sauce that causes people to bring on guests that are dynamic, guests that truly be able to take your YouTube channel or whatever online platform you're using to the next level? Well, let's get into this. Well, let me move the presentation here. And so my first slide is, before we get into how you bring on guests, I believe you need to first work on some things before the guest is even asked. You need to look at some things that you're doing before you send the email in inviting the guests and reaching out to the guests. There's some things you need to do beforehand. As I talk these names up, popping up in the chat already is the one, the only Mr. Steve Worthy. Let's do Yes, I'm with you, Steve. And then, of course, Team Live's captain of all captains, Lord of Lords, King of all kings, all the way from London, Mr. Ash Bolin. Yes, gentlemen, I've had my tea. I've maxed my caffeine. What's going on? Or as my man says, DMX, let's get it on. Let's get it on. So let's talk about the things you need to do before you bring the guest on. Tip number one, before bringing the guest on, I believe it's important that you need to have clarity about your goals of your channel. You need to have clarity about the goals of your platform. For you see, if you don't have clarity about the goals of your channel, if you haven't took the time to niche down um, on the type of content that you're trying to do, and if you're, and don't get me wrong, if you're a person who likes variety, who likes the buffet online type of content creation, more power to you. But if this is something that you want to do, not as a passionate hobbyist, but as a profession, you need to have clarity of goals of why you're doing this. And why that's important is so that when you start to consider inviting such guests like Steve Worthy in the chat, Ash Bolin, who both have been guests many times on the show, you can be able to look at their type of content they're making as individuals, as content creators, and say, does the type of content in the platform that they're producing, does it line up with the goals and the pillars of your channel? And if the individual lines up with it, then you say, okay, check. This is a potential great guest for me to bring on. However, but if you don't have clarity about your own goals, and if you're kind of all over the place, if you're still in the discovery phase, then that's something that unfortunately it's gonna your chances of success, unfortunately, are going to decrease in being able to bring on. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're starting this new for the first time, and you're just getting into the interviewing platform of live streaming, then I believe, hey, start where you are. Don't try to just go ahead and swing for the fences. Master the fundamentals. What do I mean by that? Maybe you bring on some family. Maybe you bring on some friends. Practice and sharpen your skills, just like in baseball. When in the game of baseball, what they do is, if when it comes time to fielding ground balls, when it's hit to the first baseman or the shortstop or the second baseman, they have to go through drills of being able to field ground balls that are hit to them, coming at them anywhere between 75 to 95 miles per hour. And that's something that they have to practice. They got to practice at it. So when it comes game time, and it's either the 6th or the 7th game of the World Series, and that ground ball is hit at you at anywhere from 75 to 90 miles per hour, you don't pull a Bill Buckner. Think about that for a minute. You say, who's Bill Buckner? Look it up. From the Boston Red Sox, and when they were playing the New York Mets, and the ground ball was hit to Bill Buckner, and the ball went through his legs. Now he had been practicing the fundamentals, but in the biggest game, in the time when the pressure was on the moment, unfortunately, the ball went through his legs, and ultimately the Mets won the World Series in 1986. Well, if you fast forward, when the Boston Red Sox would ultimately win the World Series, how did they win the World Series? It wasn't Bill Buckner, but it was another Boston Red Sox player who ultimately had the ball hit to him as a ground ball. He was able to field that ground ball, throw it through the first baseman, and the Boston Red Sox won their first World Series in over decades of breaking the Bambino curse. And so I use that illustration to say, you got to master the fundamentals. The fundamentals is having clear goals about your channel, understanding the 3 pillars of your platform. And if you understand the 3 pillars of your platform, and you have the core values of what your channel is about, then when you go to look for new guests to bring on to your live stream show, you can easily be able to identify them. But unfortunately, sadly, as content creators, most of us don't take the time to master the fundamentals. And when the pressure is on, the ball goes through our legs. And that's not the type of content putting in the contents of YouTube. When we have viewers, when viewers come onto your live stream, they watch your live stream, and the content that you're putting is not at the level that it needs to be at. And that's the reason why you got to practice. Bring on some family, bring on some friends, bring on some fellow content creators. Begin to find out what niche audience that you're looking to reach at. Well, on this channel here on the Huddle, a part of the Walter Strong YouTube channel, part of our core values is faith, family, and producing great content. And so that's the reason why throughout our live streams, there's always that's rising up where you understand that we're not just making selfish content, but we're making content that's going to add value to others. We're not looking to be served, but we're looking to serve others. That's a principle within the word of God that even Jesus lived himself. He didn't live to be ministered, but he came to minister unto others. That's where faith comes in, and family. And I'm not just talking about immediate family within your own household, but family that you build within a community. Family that you build within a community of content creators and viewers that you have. And so tip number one, be clear about your goals. You got to practice, as Steve says, and the comments. Are you talking about practice, right, Steve? Not a game, but practice. All right, just wanted to be clear. Tip number two, not only you got to be clear about your goals, but you got to spend time creating content. Look at the clock there. That means you got to dedicate some time out your schedule to create content. Now you say, what? But Walter, I make content. I do. But I want you to really take a look and take a step back and look at the type of content that you're putting out. And so when you begin to look at that and you consider bringing on guests to be a part of your live stream, that's a portfolio of work, of content creation that potential guests and other YouTubers and other video influencers are going to be able to look at and say, okay, the person is considering me and bringing me on as a guest, but am I a good fit? The guest is going to say, am I a good fit to be able to come on this live stream show? And how am I going to be able to add value to him if the content that you're creating doesn't line up with the content that same guest is doing? So you say, well, I'm doing podcasting. The guest is doing podcasting. You're doing live streaming. Well, more and more podcasters, such as does his live stream show every Friday morning at 8:00. He creates content and puts a master class on teaching podcasters to get more and more into live streaming, into video podcasting. So there's a connection there that if I'm creating content on not only on podcasting but live streaming and providing live streaming tips and content creation tips and strategies from YouTube, then there's a connection there that if I bring on Ash, he can see and look at my content and say, okay, this is something that can work, that will be worth my time, worth my audience time, that I'm going to encourage to watch the show. However, if the content that you're making is variety content, and again, this is no knock against content creators who want to do variety content. I'm talking about individuals who want to niche down, who found their niche, but they want to be able to niche down in such a way that when they bring on guests, they're bringing on quality guests, so that when their viewers start to watch and listen to the guests, they are someone that they can be able to be willing to listen to. They're willing to pull out a pen and a pad and to be able to learn from. And so your content creation that you make It's got to be something that the guests can be able to look at. I remember when I approached a large YouTuber and bringing him on to the channel. And I was very new at live streaming, and I didn't really interview a lot of YouTubers at that time. I'm interviewing a lot of business owners. I'm interviewing entrepreneurs. I'm interviewing particular family members who are authors who wrote a book. But the central theme out of interviewing all those different people, though, was kind of a variety. The central theme of all those interviews was helping individuals find their passion in life, encouraging individuals to be able to discover purpose and what they were put here on this earth for. And so when I approached the individual who was an author, who was an established YouTuber, who had over 100,000 subscribers and had over 1 million views, when I approached him, he said yes. And he said, part of my reason for saying yes, based on the topic of why you wanted to bring me on about finding your creative passion as a YouTuber, was because I saw your content from previous guests that you put on, and there was a central theme through all of them. And as a result, he agreed to come on, and the rest is history. And so what I'm saying is, you got to take a look at the content that you're making and say, if I'm going to bring on guests, and if the guest is going to come on, there has to be a body of work, if you will, that's going to help them to say, okay, this is a choice, a decision that is an easy yes for me and not a difficult no. Uh, Tip number 3, boom. Not only before you bring on your guests, and I learned in the person that I was speaking in the example was Benji Travis from Video Influencers. Some of you know the story. And when I had a discovery call with him, one of the questions that he asked me was, who is your audience? Who is your audience? And when I began to answer that question, I began to answer it from a standpoint of age. I began to answer the question from a demographic standpoint in terms of location, country, city. I began to answer it from a gender, male or female, from an ethnicity, black or white. I began to answer it from that perspective. And Benji challenged me and said, go deeper. Go deeper. Do you truly know the audience that is you're building on your channel? And at the time, maybe I had 123 subscribers on the channel. He says, I need you to go deeper in knowing who your audience is, especially as you're growing this channel. Do you know the pain points of the viewers and the audiences and the subscribers that are watching your content? Do you know the questions that they want to ask and get answers for? Are you spending the time in your live streams? Are you spending the times in the videos that you're uploading and saying, hey, if there is a particular question that you would like to for me to make a video on that is in line with the goals of the channel, put it down in the comment section and I will respond to. Get to know your audience. And see, when we get to know our audience, when the guest connects with us and we have that discovery call with that guest, and that question is posed to us, then we'll have the right response. We won't respond from an age stand, and that's important. The age demographic is important. You can check your YouTube analytics, and after you put enough content, the analytics will kind of give you an idea of 24 to 34, 35 to 45, 45 to 55. The analytics will give you that. It'll give you geographics and location, but get to know your audience. Getting to know your audience helps and plays a role in being able to get the quality guests that you want to bring on. The type of quality guests that you know when you bring them on, you will add value to them. Even if there's a difference in the amount of subscribers, Some people say, well, can I bring on someone that has over maybe 10 to 50,000 subscribers on my channel when I only have 100 to maybe 500? You can, but you got to put in some work. You got to start here on this level of having clarity about your goals. You got to be able to have some content to be able to show that large YouTuber who you're approaching that they have something to look at, and you have an audience that they understand who they're going to be speaking to, and that way it's not a matter of you approaching them from a standpoint of what you can get from them. Unfortunately, too many times in these content creation streets, people are looking to collaborate with individuals because they're looking to get something from them. Oh, I want to, and I've had individuals reach out to me and say, Walter, I want you to be a part of my show and my live stream show, and I'll do my research, and I'll kind of scratch my head and say, I realize I'm still growing, and I haven't reached 1,000 subscribers, but I'm approaching it from the standpoint that it's not from 1,000 subscribers standpoint, but I'm approaching it from a standpoint: am I a good fit for this individual, or is this person trying to connect with me because I know Ash Bolin? Is the person trying to connect with me because I know JP High Tech? Is the person trying to connect with me because I've did a live stream with Dan Courier from Creator Fundamentals? Unfortunately, sometimes people's motives are not, how do I say this politely without not offending any? Unfortunately, people's motives or motivations are not truly pure for the purpose of true collaboration. And so that's the reason why you have to kind of, as a content creator, go back and say, okay, is this a good fit for me? Is this a good fit for my audience? And so being able to do these basic fundamentals before you reach out and hit them up in the chat of Instagram, before you DM them in Instagram message, before you hit them up in LinkedIn or Facebook Messenger, you need to be doing these 3 tips. Hey, I need you to do me a favor. If you're getting great value out of this first part of this lesson on how to get guests on your live stream show, I need you to do me a favor, smash the like button, click the thumbs up, share this on your favorite social media platform. If you're on Instagram, take a picture of this live stream tutorial and post it on IG. If you can take a picture of it and put it on LinkedIn, put it on LinkedIn and share this with another content creator who's into doing live streaming and content creation. Tip number 4, do your research. Do your research. As you've gotten clarity about your goals, if you're creating content that's consistent. There's a consistency of not just in uploading, but there's a consistency in your brand and your message. Do your research about who you're trying to bring on. Get to know who it is that you're considering to bring on. I look out and I see a lot of names in the content creation world that I would love to bring on. Okay, if I believe it's important to kind of put a list together and say, hey, I would love to be able to bring on Sean Cannell from Think Media. I would love to bring on Owen Video from Owen Video. I would love to bring on Andrew Kahn. But I had, if as much as those are a desirable, admirable, things that I want to do, I got to spend time in getting to know them. So the question then becomes, how do you get to know them? Well, spend time connecting with them on LinkedIn. Notice I didn't say Facebook. Connect with them on LinkedIn. Approach this as it's approached in the business world. Approach this as if you were looking to start a business venture and you go to LinkedIn, not to Facebook. You don't go to Twitter Go to LinkedIn. Another tip is find their website. Do they have a website that you can be able to review and to get to know them more? Do your research about the guests that you're trying. Don't turn around and just have poor etiquette and just start spamming someone in the instant message of Facebook and say, "Hey, can you be a guest on my show?" And I'm telling you, I've made that mistake myself. I've made the mistake myself. And as a result, the person, either didn't respond, or the person said, "No, thank you." Or if I brought the person on as a guest, it didn't work out because I didn't do my research. I didn't look to see if they have a website. I didn't look to see what type of content that they're creating. I looked and said, "Oh, they're creating content. They're on YouTube. I want to bring them on. I see how many subscribers they got, and I do no research at all." And as a result, who suffers? The show suffers, but most importantly, whatever audience you do have, the audience, they suffer. The viewers who watch your content, they suffer. And as a result, they don't watch the stream anymore. And so you got to do your research. Do your research through social media. Uh, you know, make yourself known by maybe visiting their YouTube channel and spend some time watching and listening to the content that they're putting in. And so as over a time period goes, you've done enough research where now you can reach out to them and say, "Hey, I would like to bring you on a guest to talk about this topic based on these tips during this time. And I want to know what would be if this would be a good time for you to come on at Saturday morning at 11 a.m. to speak for about 30 to 45 minutes." You put in that type of research, you put in that type of excellence and commitment to that craft, that person is going to appreciate that and say yes, whether if they got 1,000 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers. Because one of the big myths that unfortunately, when I use the word small YouTuber or small creator, I'm not saying in the sense that you're insignificant. It's just your channel is growing. There are levels to this, right? There's levels to you to be able to go from 100 to get your custom URL. There's levels to you getting 500 subscribers so you can be able to get your community tab. There's levels to you getting 1,000 subscribers so you can become monetized. There's levels to this from a standpoint of growth. So when I say small creator, I'm talking about from the level where you're at. Maybe you're at 250, maybe you're at 350, maybe you're at 99. Okay, so there's levels to this, and so you got to do the amount of research on this individual that if you bring them on, they can be able to say, okay, if they ask the question, what is it that you know about me as a content creator? What is it that you know about my channel and some of the content that I put? Well, I can tell you quite a bit about Ash and his content. I can tell you quite a bit about Steve. Why? Because I watch their content. Not only have we built relationship, but I spent the time watching these guys. And as a result, if I need to bring them on and I say, here's the topic, here's the tips, okay, they know that that what I'm presenting to them, how it lines up with what they're working on and how it can be a great value to their channel and to the growth of what they're doing on their own platforms. So you got to do your research from a social media standpoint, from a website standpoint, maybe being a part of that potential person's community and making yourself known so that the person that you're reaching out to, that because I want you to think about this, especially if you're trying to reach larger YouTubers with large amounts of subscribers. They probably get a lot of these requests maybe 10 to 15 times a month, and depending on how it comes at them, from Instagram through LinkedIn through reaching out through their website, through their contact page, however they are accessible to the said person that's trying to reach out, there are unfortunately individuals that, again, they don't have the right motives and they don't have the pure reasons why they want to do this. And as a result, they'll go, nah. And so as a result, they don't respond. But when you've done your research about who this person is, then you can be able to say, okay, yes, this is the type of person that that I would want to bring on to my show. And it's not that you're trying to present yourself or posture yourself in such a way where you think you are the potentate, you are the man, you are the one who's got it all, and anyone else just unfortunately is just not on your level. You're just doing great research to say the research is not just for the channel and the growth of the channel, but the audience, the viewers, the community that I'm bringing, and it's going to add value to them. Tip number 5. I saved the best for last. If you want to bring on great guests for your live stream show, you want to bring on guests for the platform that you're on and you're doing online content creation, you got to be open and honest and transparent about yourself and say, do I have a problem with imposter syndrome? Do I have a problem with imposter syndrome? We at some point or time will deal with this. We will deal with it either before we start creating content online through YouTube and live streams and uploading videos, or we'll discover it and have to deal with it in the midst of why we're doing it. Now, for me, I became aware of it and starting to have to deal with it when I was creating content online on YouTube. But I clearly didn't really understand the definition of what this was about, and these feelings of feeling like I can't measure up, and these feelings of feeling fraudulent, these feelings of I feel like I'm not good enough or qualified enough to be able to ask said person because of the level of accomplishments and success that they had. I didn't think I could measure up. When the truth of the matter is, I put on my pants just like they put on their pants. I brush my teeth the same way they brush their teeth. Hopefully, you brush your teeth. And I go to the bathroom just like they go to the bathroom. Okay. And so the imposter syndrome tries to put you this feeling of that you just can't measure up. You feel like that if you are fortunate to bring them on, you start fanboying them. You've ever heard the term being a fanboy or a fangirl, and you just they want to come onto your show, but you're unfortunately in the fanboy fangirl mode, and as a result, it creates an awkward feeling for them to be able to navigate to be on your show. And so if you're a person who's dealing or struggling with imposter syndrome, you got to be honest with yourself and begin to get the positive feedback that reaffirms who you are first as a person before we even talk about as a content creator, before we even talk about you being a YouTuber. As a person, you have to have enough positive affirmation of who you are as a person and what you bring to the table, because you got on YouTube to create content mainly probably for the purpose because you felt that you have something to offer, you have some gifts and talents and abilities to offer it that can add value to someone. You have an opinion on a subject matter. If it's podcasting and you have enough experience in podcasting that on this subject matter that you can address pain points that a new or an existing podcaster may have. But if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, when it comes time for you to bring on guests, it will kind of rear its ugly head in such a way in the interview that unfortunately that can end up doing more harm to the show, but it can also do harm to your audience. I'm a real big proponent of real recognizes real. If you're a real person who's genuine and who truly wants to be successful, I'm willing to connect with you. But at the same time, if you are a person who's kind of struggling with these things, then it's okay to say, "Hey, look, I'm having some challenges on approaching certain individuals, and and they could be legitimate feelings of going back to maybe enough content. You haven't put in enough rep. Maybe you need to kind of, dial it back before you reach out to, Sean Cannell or Brian G. Johnson or Nick Nimmin. Maybe you need to dial it back a minute and maybe work with individuals, maybe on the same platform and level, and build up certain skills and build up your confidence so that way you can overcome the imposter syndrome. And when you do that, when it comes time now to reach out to the guests to bring them on, they will be able to receive what you're doing and say, yes, I would love to be a part of what you're doing, to come on and to be a guest on your show. So I wanted to just get into just this first step phase of inviting guests on. Next week, what I want to do is go into now the process of bringing guests on. I want to say good morning to the man all the way on the left coast who says, good point, Mr. James Hicks, Hicks News Media. I've learned so much from all of you guys who are in the chat, from Ash to James. And those of you who are watching us on YouTube, let us know in the chat where you're watching us from. I've learned so much from all of you. And it's important for us to revisit this first part before you reach out. Because when you reach out to someone and if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, when the person says no, they could be saying no for a legitimate reason because maybe it's not fitting in their schedule right now, especially if you're trying to reach out to someone on the West Coast like James, or you're trying to reach out to someone like Ash who's in another country. The time that you're reaching out to them just may not work for them. And when they say no, because you're struggling with feelings of the imposter syndrome, you're taking it personal. You're taking it personal. The reason why the person said no is because maybe I'm just not at their level yet. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that maybe they have something planned during at that same time. You didn't know that. When at the time when they were planning this, they didn't know you were going to be asking them. And as a result, your imposter feeling syndrome kicks up, and now it's affecting with you in your head. It's affecting your head. It's affecting your mindset. And as a result, now if you don't put it in check, it's going to start affecting you in terms of how you want to move forward and create content. And so you can't do these things. You can't do these things. And allowing your head to get you in a place where you're always taking it personal. There are individuals that I have my eye, I want to bring on, but I'm doing my research. Sometimes people will unfortunately kind of misinterpret certain things because they've seen you bring on certain people within their circle and say, well, how is it that you brought on Steve, you brought on James, you brought on Michelle, but you didn't bring on me. You didn't bring on this person who's a part of a group. Why? Well, maybe I'm in the research phase right now. That's the reason why. And so if people are creating drama online through information you're hearing through the chat or through or a group that you're a part of, hey, look, don't let their issues and their drama become your drama. You do your research. If people want drama, I tell them all the time, depending on if you have TNT, which is on television, if you want to watch some Law and Order, if you want to watch some NBA playoffs, they know drama. Go watch that. I don't have time for your drama. I got to do my research. And if I'm doing my research, it's going to put me in the position of bring on some great guests on the show. I'm going to try to pull up some chats here. So you guys bear with me. I know you guys are all pros. Okay, boom. Mr. Ash Bolin says, come on, StreamYard. There we go. You need to do. Oh, you need me? I need to do this more? All right, perfect. I will do this more, sir. I appreciate it. And you're right. I've looking at over the last 6 months, I've gotten into so much interviewing. I very seldom take the time to do one-on-one content creation. And I agree. I need to do it on a more basis. I think that helps to build community more as well. Mr. Steve says 100% agreed. Okay. All right, I will take that as advisement, gentlemen, that this is something. And as a matter of fact, for the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to get into part 2 on bringing on great guests for your live stream show. And there's a part 3. And we'll see what week 4 brings on. So we'll bring back the guests in the month of June. And so this month will be a matter of just creating content and being in the classroom. So I appreciate you guys affirming and letting me know this is definitely something that needs to be done. So I appreciate you guys grabbing your pad and your pen and coming into the classroom of the huddle, so that we can talk about together how to bring on great guests on the show. So we will definitely get into session number 2 next week, the process. If you are a person who are familiar with the Philadelphia 76ers, when they were drafting players like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, they were telling their fan base to trust the process. The process is something that is developed and built over time. So for you to bring on great guests to your live streams, you got to have a process in place now that you have took the time to get clarity about your goals. You've taken the time to create content. You've taken the time now to get to know your audience, not just from a demographic standpoint, but understanding their pain points. Now you can move on to the process of now reaching out to the guests. And so what does that look like? How do you go about doing that? That's what we're going to talk about next week here on the huddle. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this live stream show on how to bring great guests to your show of your live stream show, do me a favor, smash the like button, click the thumbs up, share this on your favorite social media platform. And if you haven't had an opportunity yet to subscribe to this channel, where we want to help you to broaden your reach, your impact, and income through online video, we want to encourage you to subscribe and be a part of the Huddle community, because we want to help you exceed and accomplish getting clarity. If you're a person who needs clarity about your channel, this tutorial on bringing great guests works on even in the standpoint of just uploading videos for your audience. You got to have clarity. And so that's what we want to accomplish. So again, I want to thank Steve, James, my man Ash, all the way from London, but most importantly, Team Replay. Those of you who are going to watch the replay of this, give me a hashtag Team Replay in the comments section. Which of these tips spoke to you? Put that in the comments section, and do me a favor, share this with your favorite social media platform. So we're going to get on out of here. I didn't realize we just did 45 minutes just on this one session on how to bring out great guests on your live stream. So got a lot more content to get to, and we'll get to it next week. So we will see you all next week on the huddle. Share this live stream and get the word out that Clash will be in session next week on creating content to be able to bring on great guests to your live stream. We'll talk to you soon. God bless.